Hey everybody, welcome back to the Face Off Figures channel. I'm Thatch. Today I'm going to be looking at the Jada Toys Scooby-Doo Shaggy Rogers action figure. Pretty much simple as that. So yeah, this guy has been coming out recently. I got him off Amazon for $34. They're really expensive, and I know there's a lot of figure lines that are going up in price right now. But sometimes they're $40, sometimes they're $30, but I figured with shipping, even if you order it for $30, it's going to end up being $34, $35, $36 anyway, and I have Amazon Prime, so I was like, well, $34 with free shipping sounds like probably the best deal I'm going to get for these guys anytime soon. So I ordered Shaggy. I didn't get any of the other ones yet. We'll see if I do or not. Probably not. Really just wanted Shaggy and Scooby. Scooby comes out in Wave 2. Yeah, so this is a bit of a different approach. I don't think we've reviewed a non-comic book figure yet. But, I mean, this guy was really cool and I wanted to talk about him. So, I've, like everybody, always loved Scooby-Doo since I was a kid. It's kind of one of those one of those franchises that someone has seen a version of Scooby-Doo at some point when they were a childhood. It's just generational like that. The versions that I grew up with is the version that this one is seemingly based on, which were the early direct-to-DVD movies Zombie Island, especially Curse of the Vampire. That was the one I watched the most. Cyber Chase, I also watched a ton. And then I would also watch the Alien Invaders one. So I watched those a lot. That sort of mid-2000s version of Scooby-Doo is sort of what this guy is clearly modeled after with the whites in his eyes and the hair design and everything like that. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of nostalgic. Lately, though, we've kind of been going back to the more retro, original Scooby-Doo look where they don't have whites in their eyes. They've got more comic booky eyes, cartoony eyes. But yeah, this one seems to be based on those direct-to-DVD movies. At least that era, that depiction of those characters. So yeah, that's that. And I guess I'll start with the box. Here's the box, the Jada Toys box. This is a dope freaking box. I gotta be completely honest with you. I was so taken aback by the little like smoke stuff here. I don't know, my brain. I watched some reviews and I guess my brain just blanked it out. But yeah, look at this. This is super cool. They put like smoke screens over it, which I guess if they're not selling in stores, there's no reason not to. I mean, I could see an argument made that it could, obscure the figure from the shelf, but I mean, as far as I'm aware, these aren't available at any major retailers. The colors and everything are great. You can see it's like super vibrant. You've got a photo of the figure here. It says Shaggy Rogers. Really simple stuff, to be completely honest with you. PNG of the character here. The box does go over the top there, and then all the legal stuff down there. So this is you do also have the Scooby Gang right here, right there. So I mean, this is a pretty straightforward box. You do get the background art, which I just wanted to call attention to because Scooby-Doo is kind of famous, at least the original Scooby-Doo is famous for its background art. It's in there, so I won't be able to pull it out for you, but I can show you through the window here if I taking that plastic out. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think that's really cool. Really captures like that's the Scooby-Doo sort of spooky, old-fashioned spooky backgrounds. I don't know. I thought it was dope. I mean, and even if you just zoom in and we adjust the focus here, I mean, to a certain point, it's almost like just a photo of a background with some fog in front of it. I don't know. Pretty cool. But I really love the colors on this thing, so I wanted to call attention to it. But now that that's said and done, I'm going to move on. I'm going to talk about the figure's accessories. All right, so for accessories, he kind of comes in the box like this, and it starts with this head. Let me just zoom in here so you can kind of get a look. This is like our neutral, chilling at the malt shop Shaggy head. Looks pretty good. Shaggy's got a really weird head, and that's kind of the thing when you're taking such a 2D graphic character. Shaggy's got a really weird head, and it's kind of usually drawn at like this angle with the face sort of tilted forward most of the time. So when you see a Shaggy from like this angle, that's something we don't typically get, like a front-on shot of a two-dimensional style Shaggy. So it makes his head look a little weird. Not that bad. It still looks good. But you can tell they're sort of extrapolating from this perspective and this one and trying to make it make sense in a three-dimensional context. But I think it's pretty good. This hair is really soft, rubbery plastic all the way through. So it doesn't actually make the head that much heavier, which normally it would. But it does make this really soft and not really risk of breaking, which is nice. Paint looks pretty good, I would say. All around, nothing too crazy. There is some of that like chewy edges and stuff. My camera can't focus enough to get that. But there's that like Jada toy. Sometimes they'll have like really weird like chewy edges and stuff like that. I don't know what that's about. But this is an okay head. But the head that I much prefer, because I think it just really captures the character and it just the style a lot more, is this head. I mean, there's just something that just clicks in my brain here where I'm like, okay, no wonkiness at all. I mean, even though it was like 2% wonkiness we're talking, but this is 0%. I mean, this is perfect Shaggy Rogers stuff right here. I mean, it looks fantastic. They painted the mouth shinier. There's even a little bit of a pink tone. I don't know if you can tell, or if it just looks like the light here, but there is a pink tone. Can I zoom in anymore? I can't. There is a pink tone on the tongue as it goes back, which is really, really cool. And this, yeah, I love this head. So I leave him with this head most of the time because I just think it looks great. But something that Jada Toys does do really well is they do a great job at giving you fleshed out alternate display options that aren't just an alternate head with a slightly different look that offers a slightly different emotional range. This is like two completely opposite emotional states, and the other accessories help add to that, right? So you've got these nice open hands, and those are the ones I believe he comes in the box with, and these are great, and these will allow you to really get some like classic cartoon running poses and stuff like that. Just two completely different, it's a very encapsulated, terrified, emotional state, I think, that they've captured here with these accessories. Conversely, you can get these two alternate hands. And so you have a grip hand, a little bit more of a cupped hand, and then like this like holding hand. And that is obviously for the Scooby snacks, which look great, super cartoony, but I mean, really clean print in my opinion. There's a little bit of like an issue here on the Y. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a couple little like scratches there. And there's not on this side. So generally speaking, pretty great. And then even the inside is painted blue as opposed to green. You see how there's like a blue and a green, or the turquoise. That's really cool. And then of course the Scooby snacks are sculpted and painted in there. So that's really cool. And this hand, the grip hand, holds that like perfectly, right? So you can have him hold it. Let me zoom out just a little bit. You can have him hold it, and then you get one singular tiny ass little chicken nugget looking Scooby snack, and that can fit. These fingers are really stiff and rigid, so it fits pretty tightly between the two of them. And then you can have him chilling, eating Scooby snacks, or giving them to Scooby, or playing with Scooby or something. And again, a completely different emotional state setting has been captured here as opposed to the other one. And I think that's what accessories are supposed to do, is to give you display options that are highly contrasting, and not just display options that are like 2% different from each other. Sometimes the Marvel Legends, they don't offer you that. You'd get like grips and fists, but nothing to put in the grips. And it's like, okay, well, why would I ever need those? This is like, no, you very specifically, these are the hands to hold the Scooby snacks that go with that head to make him look like he's chilling, and then those are the scared hands to go with the scared head. And I think that Jada like does a great job at that, and I think that's really nice. I will say though, for $35/$40, this is like genuinely a very underwhelming amount of accessories for what is kind of being priced at like a premium figure. And I know everyone's gonna be like, whoa, the economy. And I get it, bro. I just spent $200 on groceries. It sucks, and you know what I mean. And I get that, but I'm still gonna be like, I wish they would make it more affordable in some way. Like, these companies are richer than I, but they are a great company. I want them to stay in business, so I get it. But come on now, like, it would have been nice to get like a big sandwich, a stack of sandwiches, maybe a flat palm hand with like a peg in it, and then a stack of sandwiches, kind of like how they have the basketball with like the peg and the finger on the Tony Tiger. There you go. Something like that would, again, offered another thing. Even, I mean, to finish that, you could have had a third head that had a big, giant cartoon mouth about to eat it. You know what I mean? And I know, that seems like a lot, but this is the $34, $40 figure. I mean, come on now. Because, again, I was feeling butthurt about the accessories, so I was figuring out what I can mix and match. And I actually found this old little soda cup from the Marvel Legends Peter B. Parker figure from like forever ago. Like the first one they did came with this. And I was like, I wonder. And sure enough, it fits in his hand perfectly. And it's that kind of cartoony style. It totally works, you know? This is totally works. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. You can fit the soda in his hand perfectly, and it looks good, and it fits well. So for me, this soda is just going to go to this figure now. I have got my little accessory bag of the Shaggy accessories, and this little soda is going to go right in there for the rest of time. To me, $30+ feels like a deluxe price range, and I would have liked to get some more accessories there. And I think, honestly, that price is going to withhold a lot of people from buying these figures, which makes me nervous we're not going to get all the figures we want to get. I don't know, that's just my critique. I wish you had more accessories. But aside from that, let's move on and let's talk about the articulation and the engineering. All right, so I'm going to talk about articulation now. Now, the thing is, the great thing about Jada is they don't do usually, sometimes they do, but usually their articulation is consistent and pretty standard. But what's great about Jada articulation is it is expertly well engineered. And that is certainly the case with Shaggy. So he has a simple ball joint at the top of his head. Literally, it just looks like that. It's a nub. And initially I was like, man, it'd be nice to have another hinge there. But then I popped the head off and I was like, man, this head pops on and off really well. It doesn't feel like I'm ripping the joint out. So I think what they did is they put the hinge down here to make up for that. But by using a ball up here, which by the way, insane amount, like great range. And also his hair is soft, so you know, it can kind of bend back a little bit, but more importantly, it doesn't scuff up the back of the neck, where if it was a hard plastic hair, it certainly would scuff up the back of the neck. But what's nice is that because the hinge is down here, this can just be that simple ball, which means popping the head off is not going to like risk tearing any of the plastic or ruining the figure. And sometimes when you're doing the swap out accessories, you got to think about how much durability the swapping affords on the figure. And this is a really great way to do it. You can also, you know, bend the neck forward because Shaggy is often drawn like this. Maybe not that extreme, but maybe like this, which is nice. He does have that kind of silhouette. This, I think, is supposed to rotate, but I really can't get mine to rotate here. But that's fine because this rotates, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's pretty much what you're getting. You can get him to look that far up, and you can get him to look that far down. That's pretty good to me. He's got really great ball jointed shoulders. I mean, like they go all the way up. You could want him to go all the way down. They rest against the side of the torso. He's not stuck like this or anything. They go all the way around. And the way they're engineered, he's so skinny, and there's a little dip in there. You can actually get him to reach across just a little bit, as if he had a butterfly joint, which he does not have. Then, thank God, they gave him a bicep swivel. We need bicep swivels on most figures. I get really frustrated when they think they can't do one, because anatomically, your bicep moves as your elbow moves. It doesn't stay in place as your move separately. It pisses me off when figures do that, but he doesn't. He's got the bicep swivel, really important for crafting a nice silhouette, and a double joint elbow, which works really well. You know, if you bend it up, if you use this one first, you get that much range, and if you use this one first, you get a little bit more range if you bend this one first. Swivel at the wrist. Now the wrists are on hinge. This is the only kind of gummy feeling joint to me. It works pretty good. It's not bad at all by any means, but it's just not as nice feeling as the rest of them, and it does feel a little gummy the more the further you push it down or up. You can kind of feel like a resistance, but it works great. I mean, it does the trick. He has a diaphragm joint at the top, which moves like this. And so this is softer plastic, which means that it kind of moves out of the way for this guy. And you do get some pretty great range, and it does rotate. I haven't noticed any scarring or any indenting or anything on that, which is really nice. That makes me happy. And of course, because it's a Jada toy, he also has a diaphragm at the hips here. So you can see that offers you some range as well. Back, forward, side to side. Side to side is good. Back and forward is a little bit more limited, but you've got this top one anyway. So you can get Shaggy to go way far back, which is nice. And then you can get him to go, I would say, decently far forward. It's not bad. It could probably be better, but I think that the shirt gets in the way. But that's not a huge deal. I think it works about as much as you could really want. And then again, because you can't even see the hips, you could honestly just tilt the hips forward and like you can get them to go more. You can't even see them, so you can kind of cheat. And yeah, that rotates as well. And they go real, like, the side to side is, like, crazy because of that. I mean, that's fantastic. And again, he's a cartoon character, so you're going to want to construct some really pushed, exaggerated silhouettes out of him, you know, and you can get most of that. He has no drop down hips or anything, but he does have a really well designed hip joint that goes, like, all the way out, you know, as much as you could possibly want. This is soft, of course, moves out of the way, but that's self-explanatory. And obviously it goes forward. There's really no limitation because of the shirt being cut here, which was a really smart call. And I just cut it. I always am annoyed when they do these overlays and they don't just put a little cut in it. Like, I don't care, man. Like, it doesn't look that bad. Obviously, he has a hip swivel, which is great. Hip swivels are just as important as bicep swivels for all the same reasons. Your knee, when you rotate your knee, your thigh turns with your knee. It, like, twists around here. And I hate that they think they don't do that because it completely destroys the anatomy in the silhouette when there's just a swivel right here instead of at the hip. And I hate it. Sorry, just a little rant. And of course he has double jointed knees, which that's literally all you could ask for. That's perfect. And he has up and down on the ankle, which because he's got these big fucking 60s pants, he gets a lot of range out of that. Really far down. Okay forward, could probably be a little bit more, but it kind of runs into itself, which is fine. You also have a rotation at this, so it rotates at the top, and there's an ankle pivot. You need the rotation, the boot cut, or the ankle rotation, and the ankle pivot, because then you can direction where the ankle's pivoting, which is hugely important when you want to get him to have both feet flat on the ground. You need an ankle pivot plus a swivel. People think you don't need a swivel and the pivot is enough, and then you pull these fucking pivots and they do this shit and I can't get them to stand naturally. Sorry, just venting a little bit. So that's what I'm talking about here. This is engineered how all action figures should be engineered. It's really smartly done. So a character like Shaggy, who on paper has no reason to be hyper-articulated, right, is really well articulated, not because he's got some crazy drop-down hips and insane butterflies and triple jointed knees or toe joints or anything crazy like that, but just because the joints that are here are really, really well engineered, and the clearances and the shape of the joints is considered and done in a way that allows it to look good and also function the most it possibly can. That makes me really happy, and Jada is excellent at doing that. They're so good at engineering joints. And yeah, I literally can't complain about the articulation at all. Honestly, it's like, this is all I will ever need for a Shaggy Rogers. In terms of how the joints feel, they feel excellent. Aside from these wrists, which feel slightly gummy, every other joint on this is perfect. It came out of the box with great tensions, not loose, but still stiff, but not too stiff where I'm worried I'm gonna bust. With that being said, let me get everything back in the thing here, and then I'm going to give you my last thoughts. Sorry, I forgot about size comparisons, so we're going to move on to size comparisons now. That was not a slick transition at all. Firstly, I want to compare him to some other Jada toys. So I'm going to compare him to some of their old Universal Monsters figures, really like when they were first getting started doing action figures. I thought, first of all, they're both Jada figures, but they're both 6-inch, but most importantly, these figures can go together. I know that one is not as much of a cartoon as the other one, but to me, they're big monsters. And Jada these guys were like stylized sort of pop culture versions of the characters as opposed to like film accurate renditions, which kind of gave them these brighter colors anyway. And so I think, again, they're not going to literally go together perfectly, but I don't care. I have a Halloween shelf in my living room right now, and I am putting all these figures together on the shelf because it's Scooby-Doo. I mean, they're supposed to run away and solve mysteries about monsters. And here you go. You got two brightly colored monsters, and I've got some other ones too. So I just think that is a great, combination here. And I really enjoy it. And I don't know, man, I just think this is a great, they go together. The sizes feel about right to me, even though, again, one's got a giant ass cartoon head, This guy should be really tall. This guy is like a normal guy, maybe a slight bit taller, Dracula, depending on the source. I'm not talking about Bela Lugosi. I'm talking about like Dracula as a fictional character. And then I think Shaggy generally should be the tallest member of the Mystery Gang, but not by a long shot, But I do like when he's a bit of a beanstalk. I think that kind of makes sense for the character. So yeah, I mean, these look great together, and honestly, I mean, it's great. Also, Scooby-Doo does crossovers all the time anyway, you know? Like with Batman and like other characters. And so I think that, you know, it's in their nature to do these funky kind of crossovers. And I think that that kind of makes it fun to interchange these like monster figures we have. So I think that totally works. And I really enjoy that. Speaking of Batman and crossovers, I just wanted to do this comparison for fun. Now this is hilariously out of scale because one is a 7-inch figure and one is a 6-inch figure. But if you guys remember, there is an old Batman, and there's actually been a couple Batman and Scooby-Doo crossovers, but there's the original one from the TV movies back in the day. He kind of looked like this. Not exactly, but like generally he kind of had this vibe. And I'm looking at these two guys together, and again, I mean, this is assuming that Shaggy is like 5'5", which is not accurate, but the colors and everything actually suit each other quite well, and it does evoke that like old crossover. But again, maybe Mattel will make a 6-inch scale version, and then it will be a much better rendition. I almost wish we had a Brave and the Bold, because you know the Brave and the Bold is a really stylized cartoon, and it'd be cool to see. I think that would suit this quite well. I'm going to then put him next to Spider-Man, because I always put them next to Spider-Man. Here you go. This feels like he's a little bit shorter, but I feel like this is a pretty standard figure. And yeah, you can see he's a little bit shorter than Shaggy, which I think Peter Parker usually is around 5'7", and again, Shaggy feels like a 6'1" kind of guy to me personally. I'm not saying that's canon. I'm sure there's like canon height somewhere, but I'm just saying when I see them all together, the vibe that I get. And so this kind of feels like it makes sense together. So that's what those two figures look like together. And then finally, I'm going to put Shaggy Rogers next to another monster. This is a teaser for the next review I'm doing soon.
So I did the Freddy review after this when I recorded, but then I liked it, so I uploaded it first, and then this was second. But the chronology. It doesn't. I'm sorry. I just
shut up. This is the Jazzwares Five Nights at Freddy's Endo series Freddy, who is 6 inches tall, 6-inch scale. We'll talk about that in that review, so look forward to that coming up. But these guys actually kind of go together well, because this guy's like a little bit brighter colored and like more simpler cartoony color blocking, and it kind of works well with Shaggy. I actually think they accent each other quite well. But again, you know, if we wanted to be perfect, he should probably be like right here. But yeah, so now I'm gonna wrap up this review, and I will see you guys then. All right, so Shaggy Rogers by Jada Toys. This is a great figure. Really well designed. I mean, pretty much the perfect 6-inch scale Shaggy figure you could ask for. I mean, honestly, I really don't have any complaints aside from the price. If this was $24.99, I would have zero complaints. But because it's $34.99 or $40, it feels like it should either be cheaper or it should have a few more accessories. One or the other. Even the cheaper Jada Toys figures come with like a stand and an effects piece, you know, or something. And I understand that there are circumstances going on, you know what I mean? But I just have to speak my mind and look from a consumer perspective, not a distributor or a company perspective. And as a consumer, yeah, the $40 feels like a little too much. And I just wish it had, I think, honestly, a few more accessories would have made it feel just that much more worth it, you know? And I think really would have helped it do better. But we'll see. I hope they sell well. I really do, because I really want them to finish the Mystery Gang. And at this rate, it's going to take a long time to get there. So we'll see what happens. But I think he's a really fun figure. He looks great on the shelf. He's expertly well engineered with great articulation, really well sculpted and designed. You know, I just think it's a great Shaggy figure, and I really couldn't pass it up. I'm so excited for the Scooby figure. I'm so excited. And he's he can go anywhere on a shelf where there's a monster or a scary scene. And I think that's really, really cool. You don't necessarily need a dedicated Scooby-Doo shelf to justify having these figures. And to me, that really matters. So, yep, he's a great figure. I really recommend you guys get him if you guys can afford it. But if you can't, I think that's a totally valid reason. They are more expensive. Hopefully they go on sale later, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching.